What is up, everybody? We are back with another episode of the Itrad 2022 Fantasy Podcast. Did we have guests last week or the other week or no? I forget. I
Did
think
we
we did,
had
right?
I think we had Mike and Sonny, or no, Mike and Guy.
So we're here with a episode just me and Ed. No one wanted to hop on today, so I'm here with my co-host, the commissioner, Ed Hernandez. So we're in week 10, correct?
Yep.
Season's flying by. Um, we have a pretty interesting league. I mean, everybody's pretty close. We just don't have a team with 6 wins. So it's like 8 wins, 7 wins, five. Two teams with 5 wins. One, two, three, four, 5 teams with 4 wins, and 3 teams with 3 wins. So the league is still pretty close right now. We're kind of entering that point where it might seem like some teams are starting to trend downwards now. Some teams have risen up from the bottom of the leaderboard. We'll get into that, but let's get right into it. We got our power rankings, so and I'll let you start off with your number 11 ranking.
Alrighty. Uh, this is tough. Uh, it's tough teams down here. We got to look at things the way they've shaken up. Do you hear that echo?
No.
It's better now. All right, let me get to it. We have Fear Petus Tigers here at 11. Sonny came into this year with the number one overall pick. Unfortunately, seems to have stepped on a landmine with Jonathan Taylor. That Colts team, you really want no part of anyone right now. They have Jeff Saturday as their head coach now. Their line has fallen off. They have no quarterback. I mean, New England absolutely embarrassed them last week. Jonathan Taylor, I'm not sure between his health and the situation if there's really much to be had there. DJ Moore, he had his time in the sun about 2 weeks ago. He caught that long touchdown. I think that's going to be the highlight of the season when we look back. It's just a very bad situation there in Carolina. I do still have some hope for Debo if he's healthy. I think he just had a minor hamstring, but I mean that's pretty much the core of Sonny's team. He also has Lamar Jackson, who has pretty much come back down to earth after his hot start to the season. And you look at the rest of Sonny's lineup, and there's just a number of holes. RB2 has been a problem all year. He never addressed it. It doesn't seem like he's going to be able to. He's got to ride with pretty much James Robinson the rest of the way. And, there's really no one on his bench who's going to save him. Like Darren Waller's not returning to form from 2 years ago. Maybe Greg Dulcich is middle of the road and can help keep him afloat. But, Sonny's still invested. He hasn't made any real, I don't know, notable moves this year. So maybe he has like a last ditch effort here to try to stay afloat. That 4 wins, he's right there with everyone. But based on what he has right now, I am less than optimistic on his outlook going forward.
Yeah, really tough for Sonny having that number one overall pick. I mean, who is you really? Oh, I mean, I don't know how. I know people try to give him shit for it, but it's like I would have taken JT. Like it was JT was clear number one coming into the season, and it's been just huge bust. One of the biggest. It's funny because he had a really good week one too. He had scored like 30 points, and then after that, it just all went downhill. The Colts, I don't even know what's happening. It's the Colts had Philip Rivers, and like they went like what 10-6 or 11-5 or something.
Yep.
Made the wild card, almost beat the Bills in that wild card game in 2020.
Yep.
Last year they get Wentz, and they still were right there in week 18.
Mm-hmm.
Just had to beat the Jaguars to get into playoffs, and now they just completely turned into this horrible mess situation. And it's just like, how did it even get this bad? You kind of think, and it's just kind of crazy looking at it. Like, I don't really know where they. I know they got Matt Ryan, he sucked, but like, I just don't know like what happened to this team. Like, it's kind
Yeah,
of crazy.
a nightmare.
Not helping Sonny. Then he picked DJ Moore in round two. Was it round two or three?
Pick 24, unfortunately. It pains me to say.
So unfortunately, when your first and second round pick are practically non-existent, it's hard to fight that uphill battle. So Yeah, but my number 11, I actually have the New Jersey Sopranos. Um, Guy's very vocal about his points against being the most in the league, which is true. Can't deny it. Um, but looking at Guy's team, there's just a lot of guys that don't really. I kind of do the same thing with Chase Edmonds, so I can't really talk that much. But like Renfro, I just don't see like he's not worth having on your bench. Knox, I don't really see him any value there. He's still holding on to Keenan Allen. It's like that was kind of Keenan Allen was kind of like my James Conner. Like I literally threw him in a deal, the first deal I could to just get him like out of my sight. Like at that point, like if I was guy, I'd be so sick of looking at Keenan Allen just on my team. Like I probably would trade him away just to get him off there. But the thing about Guy's team is he has 3 top 10 backs on his team. And so you see that and you're like, he's 3-6 though. Where is it really going wrong? He's just really got weak receivers, and Justin Herbert hasn't put up 20 points since like week 4. So it's just not. I don't see anything changing in the lineup either. So it's like Fournette or Stevenson really have to explode with Henry for him to get him wins, really. Because Godwin's a guy who's kind of been stuck at like 11, 12, 13 points every week.
Mm-hmm.
Keenan hasn't been playing. I mean, Brandon Cooks is in one of the worst offenses in the league. Herbert's not playing well. Then he's got either Freiermuth or Knox, and neither of them are going for double-digit points weekly. So if nothing changes with the lineup, I don't see it coming out of this 11th place.
Yeah, we're not far off. At number 10, I have the New Jersey Sopranos. I'd like to start off by saying this team doesn't belong this low in any rankings. It has nothing to do with his record of 3-6. It really comes down to his management, like you already alluded to. 3 top 10 backs, that has no place in the bottom quarter of the rankings here. But you look at his lineup, and it's kind of the same trend from last year coming back to bite him. Drafted some very valuable pieces last year, obviously a few more than this year, but he just does nothing to elevate the rest of his team to set himself apart from the teams with similar records. And that's why he's in the situation that he is. Yeah, the points against are a bit unfortunate, but if you go back and really look at his games, he lost winnable games by close margins because he's completely neglected the tight end position. He's had multiple opportunities. From myself firsthand, I could say Dallas Goedert was offered to him a number of times for guys like Keenan Allen, just completely neglected the deal. His receivers, Keenan Allen, again, that's another name. People, I know myself for one, and I imagine at least a handful of others have at least knocked on his door to see, what he'd like for Keenan Allen. Makes no effort to do so. He's just afraid of being the kid to get burned on a deal. And it's a shame because Derrick Henry could carry a lot of teams pretty far into the playoffs this season. And I don't think that's going to happen here. I think the season's going to drift away. He's going to continue to start Justin Herbert just out of principle because he took him in the 4th round. But, the production is not there. And the same could be said for his receivers. So it's just another painful what if type scenario here.
Yeah, so going on to my number 10 spot, I have Sonny, Fiorenina's Tigers. I think he is right now. Yeah. You kind of nailed everything about his teams. His first and second round picks, unfortunately, were just total busts. And Lamar Jackson isn't scoring 40 points a game anymore. And if Taylor's keeps up with this ankle injury for the rest of the season, he really doesn't have anything crazy at running back. He's got James Robinson, Damian Harris, and Kyra Williams, and J.K. Dobbins. So I don't really know if James Robinson doesn't find the end zone in a week, it's just not really great for him. Gabe Davis hasn't really been paying off in that. I think he took him the 4th round, was it?
4th, maybe 5th. I'm not really sure.
But he's just like kind of that play you need to get right on Gabe Davis. Like this week, and this week looked like a good matchup for him too. You figured Sauce was probably going to be covering Diggs for a majority of the game, And I personally I thought Gabe Davis was going to be the one to win him this week. And then when I saw he had like 5 points, I was like, wow, like, I was surprised by that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess if there's no moves made to this team either, it's like I don't see him coming out of this position.
It's tough. Very tough. That brings us to our number 9 spot. And with that, we have the Uzumaki clan, my co-host here. This is where the rankings got tough for me. These next 2 or 3 teams, I feel it's a coin flip which way you want to go. For me, it comes down to preference. You're coming off a close win over Sunny, improved to 4 and 5. You're still in the mix of it here.
I'll take Mink where I can get it.
We all will, won't we? But I think that Cup trade is somewhat working out for the both of you. Waddle's been awesome. He should continue to be awesome for you. That Dolphins offense between Tua, Hill, and Waddle, you know what you're getting each week. The real X factor comes here with Swift. You have to be concerned with his usage and his health. It's a weird situation that they're putting him out there for 10 snaps out of the game.
That's what, I just don't. I don't understand. I was like, all right, the guy when I was making the trade, I was like, all right, he's been out for 5-6 weeks. They had a bye. He's practicing. He's got to come back and he'll be good to go next week, right? Then he comes back and they're playing him 10 snaps a game, and it's like,
what's even the point?
What is this?
Just let him rest till he's 100%. I don't really know what they're doing with him. So the talent's there, but I'm just not sure the situation's ever gonna amount to anything there. Firsthand, I was touching base to seeing how you were valuing him, but for your sake, you have to hope that he gets healthy and they start to use him.
I don't know what getting healthy even is for him at this point, because it's
clearly something's still up. Otherwise, what are they doing?
He's practicing. He's limited or he's half limited or whatever, but still,
it's I can't recall any situation where a team has used a guy on the fence like that. It's a weird thing. But, other than that, what you have in Jalen Hurts, top 3 quarterback each week. I don't know if you have the best option to stack him up with Smitty. He's shown his promise some weeks, but it's kind of a coin flip. Does Philly really need him in most of these games? I don't think so. But, given the right matchup, such as this week versus Washington, we saw what he did the first time around against them. Maybe this is a Smitty week, but you just don't know for sure. You can't go into any week confident that he's going to pay off. And you look at the rest of your lineup, I'm going to be honest, your bench is kind of tough to look at with Chase Edmonds and Melvin Gordon still around.
I'm still looking to shot Melvin Gordon for literally anything at this point.
I don't even know. I don't know what he would get you. Maybe a defense or a kicker. But honestly, the rest of your team is just a bunch of question marks. Zeke as your RB2. If he's healthy, he's a decent RB2 because he has a good chance of just falling into the end zone. He's not getting you 100 rushing yards or busting off any big runs. But, the touchdown upside is there. I don't know. I'm hoping that you can find some guys on waivers and plug in some of those spots at receiver. But for now, I think I got you in the right spot.
Yes, yeah. I traded Cup because Breece Hall got hurt. But all the running backs I ended up trading for all fucking are hurt. So now it's
at least Waddle's killing it. He's not a far fall off from Cup, so we'll see.
At my number 9 spot, I have You Wish Wilson. Just made a trade now that really blew up in his face pretty badly. I don't know if I've ever seen a trade a day later blow up so badly in someone's face before, but as we all saw, Joe Mixon scored 5 touchdowns while Josh Allen went on to score
he still did
4.8 and then get injured. So it's not really great for Wilson. I just don't know. The thing with Wilson is he's such a wild card because he just makes those weird ass starts, like when he benched Dak Prescott in favor of Derek Carr going on the road to New Orleans.
But it was known that the whole team had the fucking flu. I don't.
Yeah, it's So this is more just I just don't know if this kid's gonna really make the right moves going forward. Like the only thing he's really like hit on this year is ETN now. Devontae Adams has been very volatile. Who else did he draft? He traded away Ramondre Stevenson for Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is doing okay. Ramondre Stevenson obviously would be better. I'm trying to think of all the running. He traded away
Kenneth Walker.
Ramondre Stevenson,
No.
Brian Robinson, Zeke,
Mixon.
Kenny Drake, Mixon. Like, well, this is literally a running back factory just giving out running backs. Like, it's crazy. I don't understand it. I think there's someone. I think he traded Algier too. Who, I mean, is
He may have, yeah.
But Algier put up 13.3 points this week, so it's like, and it's funny because the running backs he's left with are like Miles Sanders, and like outside of ETN who he drafted, like he traded all those running backs away to start Miles Sanders at RB2, and his other running backs on his team is just Deion Jackson. He traded away all those running backs. All he got in return was Miles Sanders and Deion. How does that even happen?
I don't think I'd be able to sleep at night. Like
How
that's
does that happen? And the other people, like his other starters, are Adams, who he drafted, Juju, who he drafted, Judy drafted. He drafted Dak. He drafted. Oh no, he didn't draft. Did he draft Jacoby Myers? I think he did.
Yeah, he did. He loves Jacoby Myers.
He picked up, and so the other players he got from all those trades is Deontay Johnson and Josh Allen. Like he traded all those running backs away to get Josh Allen, Deontay Johnson, and Miles Sanders. How many of those running backs he traded away are like top, like gonna finish top like 10 running backs?
All of them, man.
He might have by the end of the season traded away 5 top 10 running backs for Josh Allen, Deontay Johnson, and fucking
The thing is, he still has one of the top 10 running backs. Like he literally had 4 of them. He drafted 4 top 10 running backs.
Yeah, it's like crazy. So I don't know. Well, that's why I have Wilson at number 9, just because like I don't know what this kid's doing with his team. Like
those are all fair points. We're not far off. Number 9. Actually, no, we're at 8 now.
Yeah.
I have Caldwell's Tony's Ducks coming off a huge victory, knocking me off, giving me my first loss of the season. I think that's his second win in a row. He's trending in the right direction, but I look at his lineup this week and it hurts me to see, Terry McLaurin where Cortland Sutton should be, Deontay Foreman. He had his week, but we saw last week he came crashing back down to earth. Mike gave away Michael Carter and James Conner, who would both be more preferable in that spot to me. I don't think that's crazy to say by any stretch. But, I mean, you look at the positives here. He's got Cooper Kupp. He's completely fine. His ankle is not an issue. Right back to scoring 25-plus every week. Allen Lazard, who received a lot of criticism by a lot of people in the league. He's a great, he's Rodgers' really only reliable option. I think he's going to do fine for him going forward. At tight end, I'm not really sure. I guess he's riding with Tanyan, but it just doesn't make sense to me because at a time he had both Hawkinson and Goddard, who are both.
And he had Schultz too.
Well, no, he traded.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To get Schultz, but like at a time he had, consensusly top 5 tight ends, and now he got Tanyan. So I'm not really sure what to make of that. Running back, Kenneth Walker, he's got a good one there. He's going to continue to be a stud. And a quarterback, Kyler Murray's kind of like an uninspiring 20-ish points each week. So, Mike's a fighter. He's got some decent pieces on his bench that could turn a corner as the season kind of rolls on here. But as it stands, I don't think, and I hate to, put down a team on a roll here, but I don't think he's got enough firepower to keep this going for the last stretch here in the season for that playoff push. So that's it.
Yeah, I actually have Mike at 8 as well. Pretty much, I mean, I think you did pretty well going over there, but Let me pull up his team real quick. Tony's Ducks has, Kyler Murray, Walker, Cup. Yeah, I just don't. I mean, if Cup could get 30 a game for the rest of the season, Walker's going on bye next week is the only thing. So that's gonna be a big hurt for him because that's one of the only two guys who's really putting up 30 for him. But
Yep.
yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said there.
I'll roll right on here to number 7, where I have You Wish. Seems like I've been higher on Wilson all season. We can see why I was pretty bullish on him in the preseason, beginning part of the season. He had a great draft. A lot of those people panned out for him, like we already spoke about. Unfortunately, they're not all panning out for him, but he's still left with a pretty solid core here, in my opinion. I think ETN is borderline top 5 for the rest of the season. Dude is a stud. He's Jacksonville's entire offense. He's their whole team. He could do it in the running game. He could do it in the passing game. He's going to continue to be a stud as long as he's healthy. He's got a top 5 receiver in Devontae Adams. Yes, he's been more volatile than you would like, but when he's healthy and he's out there, he's going to continue to be the number 1 target in that offense, be an absolute stud, and he's a solid bet to score a touchdown each week. Aside from that, I think Juju is finally panning out. He's kind of set himself apart there in Kansas City as the top target behind Kelsey. Seems to be a pretty solid PPR option there. Jerry Jeudy is someone I've always been a big fan of. I think he benefits the most in that Denver offense. While Sutton's on the outside drawing all the top coverage, Judy's kind of moved around in that offense, hides out in the slot sometimes. And now he's starting to out-target him. So these next couple of games, Denver has some really favorable matchups. And, I mean, if there was ever a time for that team to get right, I think it's got to be now, coming off the bye week. Hopefully they could figure some things out. And I think Jeudy could, maybe find that second gear here in the second part of the season. But aside from that, as long as Josh Allen is healthy, he's the number 1 quarterback without any question. A solid bet to score 30 each week with the potential to score more. I think he's won 2 in a row as well, and I would not be surprised if he continues to keep it rolling and sneak in maybe that 7 or 8 seed.
Number 7, right? 7, I have the Diego Juniors. Fresh off of a trade today. Diego now has Fields, who's been on fire as of late. I think he's QB1 in the last 4 weeks, something like that. CMC coming off the bye against the Chargers, very favorable matchup. Got Pollard at RB2 with a potential Zeke injury, keeping him from playing this week. So, I mean, that's another really RB1 play. At wide receiver, he's got Pittman and DeAndre Carter. Not really the best options really going forward, but he upgraded a lot at tight end with Goddard, and he also got more in the slot. So I think Diego could definitely win a half of his next games to get into a playoff spot here. It's just really if he were to get to the playoffs, I don't know if I could really see him. His wide receivers just need to be carried by every other facet of his team is the problem right now. So
yeah. Well, we're not far off. At number 6, I have the Diego Juniors. Might be a little bit early to call this, but I think Fields is a solid bet for waiver pickup of the year. He's completely changed the fortunes of this team. I mean, he was dealing with injury after injury. Couldn't really find anyone to play at quarterback. Russell Wilson hasn't been it for him. And then, we haven't seen McCaffrey suit up for the Diego Juniors yet. And his first matchup against the worst run defense in football, I think we have another big week in store here for the Diego Juniors. And going forward, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't secure one of those top 8, playoff spots. We made a trade today. I think it benefited us both. You got a solid floor in Rondell Moore. He's been struggling at tight end all year. He just landed a top 3 guy. Like you mentioned, his receivers are the weak spot of this team. But, if he could just get the floor from them around 10 points each, I think his heavy hitters are going to keep him in most matchups. So I am very excited to see how the season unfolds for him.
So my number 6 spot, I have Kenny here. Right? Are we at 6?
Yep.
Yeah. I have Kenny at number 6. Going forward, I mean, if Josh Jacobs is officially back down to earth, Aaron Jones just got hurt. I don't know how serious his injury was. Let me see if there's a
I think it was low grade. It wasn't as bad as they thought.
Rays should be able to play this week. I mean, an ankle injury, he could be playing, but also be banged up. So, and the Packers offense just looks fucking absolutely horrible. So if Eckler, how many points did Eckler have this week?
He's a monster, dude. He scores every single week now. I think he had like 25.
24 points. He's RB1 right now. If Eckler can, I guess, carry him, I just see like a lot of problems with this team when you look at his bench. He really has nothing like. I mean, he's got Claypool. I don't really think Claypool is anything. Robbie Anderson's still on his bench. I don't think Robbie Anderson has scored a point in.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson hasn't scored more than 1 point since week 5. Season high is 5.6 outside of the week 1 long touchdown from Baker. Jerick McKinnon, I don't think he's ever going to start for him. He's got 2 kickers right now, and Jared Goff. The only 2 real assets on his bench are Amari Cooper and Curtis Samuel. So really, if anyone were to, this week T. Higgins is on bye, so I mean, I guess he's starting Curtis Samuel. But if anyone were to go down for his team, I just would see it really him going on a snowball effect towards the bottom of the standings.
Yeah. At my number 5 spot, maybe a bit controversial, but I have the 7-2 team led by Castro's Palace. For the first part of the season, I've kind of given him the benefit of the doubt. Like his numbers have been undeniable, but I'm starting to get tired of that because when you look at this team, I mean, aside from Mahomes and Kelsey, is there anyone who really like strikes fear into you? His receivers last week scored a combined 13 points, and somehow he won the game. Like it's a pretty amazing feat. But I mean, Patterson looked good in his return from injury. Mostert, he's a decent RB2 some weeks, but Jeff Wilson was used a lot more than I think anyone was expecting. So that backfield looks like a 50-50 timeshare. I look at his bench and, Mike Williams coming back doesn't make me jump up and down with excitement. If he comes back, I mean, I think he has a better chance of coming back than Marquise Brown, but those high ankle sprains, you never know. Najee, I forgot about him. That's how irrelevant he is. He's still on his bench. He didn't really even take the time to put him in his lineup yet. But really, what are you getting from him? Is he that big of an upgrade over Mostert or, Woods in your flex? I don't think so. So the record's been nice. I'm sure he's happy about that. And I don't mean to rain on his parade here, but I don't think he's done enough at wide receiver to really be a contender. So
that was number 5, right?
Yeah, number 5.
Number 5, I have Love Hurts. Kevin, who has Burrow on bye this week, does he have a quarterback? No, he doesn't have a quarterback yet, so I guess we'll see who he's going to start. But Kevin's team going forward, I mean, he's got a top 8 guy, A.J. Brown. Dalvin Cook is looking pretty nice. He's like now starting to score a lot more. I think he scored it. Yeah, he scored every game except for week 4 going back to week 3. So he's getting in the end zone now. The Vikings are 7-1, right?
Yeah.
Their offense didn't look like anything amazing last week against the Commanders, but I mean, Dalvin Cook is Dalvin Cook. So if he could just keep getting in the end zone, along with Sutton, who's kind of on a down, who's coming off a down couple of weeks, if he could get right for Kevin, that would be really big. Because he's got Hawkinson, who out the gate had like 7 targets for I don't know how many yards last week, but James Conner at his RB2 now. Who James Conner is a guy that's if he's playing and is healthy, will always get you double-digit points just because the Cardinals pass so much that he's like guaranteed at least 5 catches for like 20 yards out of the backfield, along with getting like those like 25 or 30 yards he gets on the ground. So he's a really safe play at RB2. So Kevin seems really solid all around. Once Chase comes back, I think he'll definitely be a contender for come playoffs.
Yep. I have Kevin at number 4. Hit on a lot of good points there. Cook, I think, is definitely the more preferable back to Kamara. We saw some glimpses of that last night as to why. I think it's only going to continue to trend in that direction as the season rolls on. I think Kevin definitely got the better end of the trade with Mike this past week, where he landed Sutton, Connor, and Carter for Terry McLaurin and a bag of chips. You hate to see that, but if there was ever a time for Sutton and Denver to get right, kind of like we already talked about with Judy, these next couple of games, I can't imagine it gets any worse. So I think that was kind of a low-risk, high-reward move for him, and he's known for doing those, and people continue to allow him to do that, but we can't take it away from him. The Chase situation is a weird one. I don't know if you've heard anything, but all I ever heard was 4 to 6 weeks with a hip injury, like nothing after that. He wasn't put on IR. I don't know if any other news came out regarding that, but everyone seems to have been very hush-hush about that in Cincinnati. So I think he'll come back at some point, but we don't know when, and we don't know what he's dealing with. So that's a less than ideal situation for him, being that his quarterback is tied directly to him. But when you look at this lineup, I mean, he's got a solid core of receivers. He's got an RB1. He's got a top 5 tight end, another trade where he got the better side of things. He's going to be a contender, unfortunately, when playoff time rolls around.
My number 4 spot, I have Castro. Castro, his team just keeps winning. I mean, Mahomes passed for 68 attempts on Sunday night versus the Titans. I mean, that team is just pass happy, and the fact that he has the Kelsey and Mahomes stack, I mean, that could just win you games on by himself, like they pretty much did last week. If Drake London could ever go back to what he was in the first 2 games of the season, I mean, his team would actually be pretty nice. I really like actually, I don't like Mostert as much now because Jeff Wilson looked really good on Sunday. But Patterson got into the end zone. I mean, that's a team that's just going to want to run the ball all game. So he's a pretty safe play at RB2. The only thing is his flex options. I guess he can put Najee Harris there if he wanted. Because Adam Thielen is just kind of, I mean, he's just not Adam Thielen from 2 years ago anymore. He's the guy at most going to get you like 16 points, like if he gets into the end zone. But going forward, if Castro could get healthy, I think his team would look a lot better. He's got 2 guys with some serious injuries on his bench, but I think he could win a first round game. Depending on who he plays, if he could keep the 2 seed, but I don't know if he'll be a team in the championship mix.
Fair. Moving on to the top 3 here. I still have Farmer Ken here at 3, hanging around. He came off a tough loss to Castro last week, but I mean, really, this lineup is a quarterback away. Can you imagine a world in which Kenny was actually active on waivers and picked up someone like Fields? I mean, this team would be, out of our worst nightmares. But let me check real quick. Kenny has, take a guess. How many acquisitions does Kenny have on the season?
One was Buckner when he got hurt. One was his kicker went on by. Is it 3 or is it just 2?
4. We can count on one hand here in week 10 how many waiver transactions Kenny has made. I think he still has his full budget. Yep. He hasn't spent $1. The kid is enchanted. Somehow he drafts a relevant team every year. There's always at least one player that nobody wants and somehow, pans out and carries him for a stretch of time. Jacobs has come back down to earth, like you said. But I mean, still, it's not like he's, back to the bench. The guy is in his flex spot right now. And given the right matchup, he's going to turn up again. I mean, he's been running like an animal this season. His receivers, he's got 3 decent options, even better than decent, I'd say. T. Higgins, Metcalf, and Cooper, all pretty solid. No one really blows you away necessarily, but they're all solid and they all have the potential to pop off at any given moment. And then you got RB1 on this team in Austin Eckler, who looks absolutely unbelievable after his slow start to the season.
Think about Eckler. People think he had a slow start, but he really didn't have a slow
bad.
start.
Yeah.
He scored like, what was it? I want to say it was like 18 points in week 1.
I remember week 2 they were playing Kansas City.
He scored 11.
Yeah.
Kansas City, he got it late. In the
found and shit online, like Austin Eckler drafters and shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, he had 11, 18, 13. Then he went off for fucking 34, 38, 24, 36. Like,
yeah, I mean, I don't even know how often he checks his lineup, but he's someone who's probably going to be top 5 when it's all said and done. And who knows, with his luck, how far he'll make it.
what number are we on now? 3?
Yep.
I have Nick at number 3. Looks like Kamara showed his downside, I guess, last night. When you got a team who's got a good run defense, that Saints offense is just abysmal, kind of. Like, they didn't pick up a third down, I think, the whole first half. Chubb on Cleveland, always going to be an RB1 guy. Love that he has Tua. I think Tua's got some favorable matchups, like coming up for the rest of the season. He's got Houston. He's got LA at one point. He's got Green Bay in the playoffs. So it's just really for him, I don't think he has any glaring issues at any position. D-Hop's looking really good. Tyler Lockett has still been scoring touchdowns and being very serviceable in the flex spot. So I think Nick I would think he has a top 3 team. But going forward, I don't really see where he would run into any issues, to be honest.
Yeah. We're pretty much on the same page here. I got Nick at number 2. Hit on a lot of the points that I was going to. The only thing I'll say is that this team would look a lot better with A.J. Brown and Dalvin Cook. I don't know how he's feeling about the trade. A lot of people, and maybe I'm nitpicking or going a little bit too far with it, but when you are one of the top 3 teams in the league, which I agree he is, those details matter. And having a superstar like A.J. Brown, given the right matchups like he's going to have when it matters the most, opposed to Hopkins, who, he had his fun return to the lineup, but kind of came back down to earth a little bit. I just think it's going to come back to bite him. Kamara, who knows? Maybe New Orleans goes back to Jameis now. Andy Dalton didn't look very good. And that would just about, confirm that he's not the guy you want, opposed to Dalvin Cook on the 7-1 Vikings. But yeah, he does have a complete team. There's no one in this lineup who you're like, oh wow, he stinks. He's going to shit the bed this week. But I think he sold himself short with that deal still. So
yeah, at first I thought it was even, then I thought it wasn't, and it was in Kevin's favor. Then I thought it was even again, but now I'm starting to think that Kevin definitely won it. Going in my number 2, I have Julian. Julian, really, his only issue, he's just been riding with Kirk all year. And as we saw against the Eagles, if Kirk ever gets a primetime, I don't know if the Vikings have another primetime game.
They probably will at 7-1. They're going to get some flexed, I bet.
Going to get flexed, and Kirk has one of the worst primetime records of all time. I honestly think the Vikings are kind of frauds. IRL, they're 7-1, but I don't see them winning the wild card round. And I don't think they're going to get the bye either, because the Eagles will probably have that. But I don't see the Vikings. I think the Vikings will get upset in the wild card round by whoever they play. But Jeff Wilson looked really nice on Sunday, and Jules got him, which is a pretty good RB2 for him. I think Jeff Wilson will probably end up being the lead back in the offense. He just looked like really electric going out there, and he could catch very well. So that'll, I think, get him. That's what Edmonds was. Edmonds was supposed to be the RB1 in that offense because of his ability to catch the ball, but then he just had the most drops in the league, and it was just his role just diminished because he couldn't catch the fucking ball, and he got traded. So I think Jeff Wilson could easily take over the RB1 spot in Miami. Then he's got Jettas and Tyreek Hill. Not really much to even say about them. Wide receiver 1 and I think 4. Yeah, 1 and 4. Lave in the flex. There's just really not much for me to really say about Julian's team in the negative.
Yeah, I got Jewel at my number 1 spot here. And it's crazy to think that, I mean, in terms of power rankings, he can't be any higher. But this team could have been a lot better. And you've seen me say this in the group chat, and I've said it to him privately, throughout the entire season. He's texted me privately about how much he hates me and this and that. But what it comes down to is, I mean, when we look at his transactions, he hasn't made a single trade. He wants to be applauded for, quote unquote, having a great draft. But really, when you look at things, players fell to him that shouldn't have fallen to him. And he did make a couple of good picks here and there. Dameon Pierce, where he got him, that was solid. But he had windows of opportunity, none bigger than with Clyde Edwards, of moving off him when he was viewed as a top 5 or at the very least a top 10 back. And instead he said Clyde to the moon. And now it's Clyde to the waivers. So that sucks because RB2 is his biggest weak spot right now. Quarterback is another position he's completely neglected. Fields was out there. Watson was out there. Just riding with Kirk in a mindless stack with Jefferson. They've only scored 2 touchdowns together. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but still a great wide receiver trio. You could even throw Kirk in there and make it a, I don't know, whatever a quad group is. But to me, it just hurts what could have been, but still a solid team.
Yeah, and then at number 1, I have Suck My Dicka. I mean, it's not much I even want to say about this team at this point after the trades today.
You say that every week, man.
I mean, there's nothing like what do you want to say? Like,
what do you like?
There's no one else even had a shot at this point. Like, no one is beating this team. Like,
what do you like, man? Tell me what you like about it.
I mean, there's literally like every position. Well, I mean, I guess except quarterback now.
Scratch that. Are you a believer in the Predator?
No, I'm not.
You're not a believer in the Predator.
In what terms? Like, how many points are we talking? Like,
tell me what you view. I don't know.
I think he'll score. I think he'll get 20, at least 20 a game in most of his start. I don't know. He hasn't played football in a while. Like, I just don't. Sometimes that happens if guys don't play for that long. That he only has how many games? Like, what, 6 games?
Yeah. Well, he's got 2 games to get warmed up, and then it's playoff time.
Yeah. So I just don't know if he's gonna jump in there right away and just start lighting it up on the field. That's the only thing. But I mean, he should be getting in the offense at least 20 like a game.
That's what I'm hoping for, man.
I don't know if he's gonna be throwing for like 350 yards a game though. Like,
I don't think so either.
But he should be getting 20. Unless they like have a lot of rushing touchdowns with Chubb, then yeah, Saquon and Mixon, Diggs, Lamb, Amon-Ra, like, I mean, that's your wide receiver 2 and flex is pretty much like better than mostly a lot of people's like wide receiver 1 and 2 combos. People who don't have like Chase, Cup. I mean, mine, like, I have like what, Waddle and Smitty or Waddle and I usually I'd rather take yours over that too, but just nothing really, like, no weak spots on this team at all. Barring, I mean, injury, it's really like there's no one's beating this team. Like,
I appreciate you, man. Let's pray for the best.
But moving on, we have Pick'ems. We'll do the other one. We have our pick'ems. Let me write down the timestamp for this. So we have 44, 45. Okay. Pick'ems for this week. First game, Suck My Dick versus Cardiac Kids. I got Ed in this one. Unless like Jefferson and Hill both like go crazy, like the floor for Ed's team is literally like 130 points. Well, actually Mixon's on bye this week, but still. Monty against Detroit though, like he should still be able to get at least 10 points, 15 points if he scores. But Mon Roberts, Chicago, who we just saw literally couldn't cover shit against the Dolphins. Saquon Barkley versus Houston, like Lord fucking hell, Julian, like we saw what Derrick Henry did to them. Giants coming off a bye too.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, it's just it. And then Jefferson's going up against Buffalo, which isn't like a crazy good matchup or anything. So Tyreek's going up against Cleveland, which I actually do like that matchup. Olave's got the Steelers. So yeah, I just think your matchups like are just too good this week to really lose. But next game we have Love Hurts versus New Jersey Sopranos. This game is kind of a little bit like closer than I think people will think. As long as guys got Derrick Henry out there, like who knows like what could happen. The thing that Derrick Henry's done, like that game, remember I played you last year where Derrick Henry had like 4 points going to halftime, and then he ended with what, like 45? Like
Might have got to 50, I think.
I think it was 50, like just insane. I do have Kevin winning. He's got no Joe Burrow this week. Obviously Chase has been out, but if AJ Brown could have a game, I think AJ Brown in primetime will probably have the better game than Smitty. I mean, I'm hoping not, but I just think last time they lit him up with Smitty, and AJ Brown's just hot right now, so I think it might be his day. So I got Kevin winning this one.
Yeah, I also have Kevin winning. I don't think this is going to be one of the higher scoring matchups between the two teams, but when you look at Guy's team, Henry's been his, I don't know, carrier, his savior to some degree, but Denver's run defense is pretty respectable. I'm not saying Henry's going to have a bad game. I just don't know if he has that 30 or 40 point potential. You look at the rest of his lineup, and I do think this is a Chris Godwin week. He should get into the end zone for the first time this year. The volume's been there for him. I think he'll have his best game, hopefully, against Seattle. I mean, if it's not going to happen now, it's never going to happen. Aside from that, I don't know what his plans at receiver are because Keenan Allen, I don't think will play. Maybe he puts Brandon Cooks out there. I wouldn't be very excited for that. He currently has Wan'Dale Robinson in the slot, which is maybe. I mean, it's a good matchup, but Herbert is not a quarterback you can really be confident in putting out there anymore. He's down his top two receivers, and he's playing hurt. It's just a name at this point. Looking at Kevin's side, if there was ever a time for Sutton to get right, Tennessee has nothing in terms of defensive backs that can cover him in man coverage. Washington's secondary is bottom 3 in the league. Either Smitty or AJ Brown is going to have a huge game. Maybe they both have decent games, but one of them could really pop off. Like you said, Brown is the hot hand right now. Really not a whole lot more for me to say. I think Kevin just has the more complete team.
Yeah. Next game we have Farmer Ken versus Caldwell Tony's Ducks. I actually have the upset of the week here. I got Mike winning this one. T. Higgins is on bye for Kenny, so he's gonna have to start Cooper. It'll definitely have to be Cooper. But I think that's not the greatest matchup versus Miami. Miami on the road defense is atrocious. We're only allowing like 13 points per game at home. We've been playing really good at home on defense. So I don't think it's really going to be an Amari Cooper week. Aaron Jones is hurt. He might play, but even if he does, I mean, he's playing hurt. Eckler's got San Fran, which, I mean, I guess if the Chargers are going to be scoring, it'll be good for Eckler. But I mean, it's not like San Francisco defense is like Swiss cheese or anything. But then he's got DK versus Tampa Bay. Even though Tampa Bay defense isn't exactly what it used to be, it's still a pretty solid unit. But Mike's got Cup versus Arizona, which might be like a 35-point Cup week. I don't not necessarily the 9:30 a.m. Germany game for Kenneth Walker might. Who knows? I just feel like those games are like Thursday night games, like when they're playing in fucking London or they're playing in fucking Germany for the first time now. Like these guys are really going to fucking Germany in the middle of the season having to play a fucking football game. Like, crazy. But I don't know. I just think it'll be a more low scoring matchup, and Mike will edge it out. So this is what I have as my upset of the week.
I agree. Definitely a lower scoring matchup here, but I'm not as much of a believer in Tony's Ducks this week. Nothing personal. I just look at Kenny's matchups compared to his. Terry McLaurin against Philly. I'll tell you one thing, I'd much rather have Cortland Sutton against Tennessee. So McLaurin's going to draw Darius Slay, and he's got Heineke throwing him the football, so you'd be pretty happy if you get away from that with 10 points. You got Lazard against Dallas's defense. Say what you want about Trayvon Diggs, but Dallas's defense is solid all around at every level. The volume will be there. I'm just not sure how much splash could really be there for him. Cup against Arizona is his one smash spot this week. Walker has a very tough matchup with Tampa's defensive front. I don't know, but I think Foreman's best production is behind him. He had that one blow-up week. Again, call me crazy. I'd much rather have James Conner in that spot, but that's just me. And then you look at Kenny's side, DK against Tampa. It's a solid matchup, and Seattle continues to defy all expectations. Josh Jacobs, Eckler are both healthy. Not the best matchups, but two studs who can overcome those matchups. I mean, if he gets 15 points from whoever he rolls out at quarterback, personally, I would take my chances on the waivers at this point. But I think even with Higgins on bye, Kenny is going to just edge this out. And someone who we're not talking about, like he'll probably start Curtis Samuel and he'll get 25. So who knows?
Next, I have my game of the week with You Wish versus the Diego Juniors. This is a very important game in the standings. Wilson could really make a push. Hold it, wait, fuck, my battery's gonna die. Let me put my charger. Wilson could really make a push at like an eight seed in the playoffs if he could beat Diego here. Just one of those games, like the game I had with Sonny last week was pretty important because I was 3-5 and he was what?
4-4.
4-4, yeah. So this is just one of those games that's going to separate kind of the bottom of the teams coming up. But it's really hard for me to choose a winner here, but I'm going to have to go to Diego. I mean, Diego's team, she's got a lot of guys. Like Fields has been hot. Tony Pollard, if Zeke doesn't play. Goddard's been hot. Rondell Moore's been hot. And CMC going against the Chargers. Like, I just like his matchups a lot more here.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're thinking along the same lines. I also have this as my game of the week. Everything you said, pivotal matchup in this season. And I think it's a smash spot for the Diego Juniors. They're just going to keep rolling. You got Fields against Detroit, CMC against the Chargers. Pollard, very good chance he has the backfield to himself this week against a terrible run defense with Green Bay. Even a guy like Michael Pittman, I mean, it's a terrible situation for Indy, but Vegas has nothing in their secondary, so he'll probably get in the 10 to 15 range with potential. You know, maybe he scores a touchdown. Goddard, Moore, two guys I know very well. Like you said, they've been hot. I don't see any reason why they would cool off now. Moore in particular has a good matchup with the Rams in the slot. He's good chance that he's Murray's favorite target again this week. You look at Wilson's side, there is some hope for him. He's got to hope Josh Allen plays first and foremost.
Yeah.
Minnesota is one of the few teams that Buffalo will play that could actually give them, a fight. No, we say that after they lost to the Jets last week, but when you look at the majority of the season, maybe we chalk up last week as a divisional game. This game could be a shootout. Allen, this could be a 40-point week from him. ETN against Kansas City, on paper, Kansas City's run defense isn't very good, but then somehow they go out there and shut guys like ETN down. And for the most part, I thought they held Henry in check, other than one big run in particular that I remember. But I think Adams, I don't see him doing what he did last week against Gilmore. But, Juju and Judy both have good matchups, so why this is the game of the week. But I feel fairly confident in the Diego Juniors.
Going on to our next matchup, we have Bad Buys Ever versus Fear Peter's Pandas. It's my lock for the week for Nick. If I don't know what the status of Jonathan Taylor is right now, but if he's not playing, then I just don't see the route to victory here for Sonny. Tua's got a good matchup. Kamara's got Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, did they say JJ or TJ Watt was coming back this week or next week? I forget.
I don't even know. If I were them, I don't see the point. Where are they going?
But D-Hop's playing against Ramsey, but I feel like in the past, though, Ramsey hasn't always shut down D-Hop. But I just don't see where the firepower is coming this week from Sonny. So there's too many stars for Nick who will step up for him.
Yeah, I hate to say it for Sonny's sake, but I don't think Jonathan Taylor's going to play. Maybe Debo will play, and that's a fine matchup, but the rest of his team, it would take a miracle. It would take a Gabe Davis blow-up week. Greg Dulcich, I don't know, man. DJ Moore would have to do what he did again when he played Atlanta 2 weeks ago. He's got no Lamar Jackson. That's been his juice all season. It's looking bleak for Sonny's season and this week. So
yeah, unfortunate.
And that brings us to the last matchup of the week, that being Castro's Palace versus Uzumaki's Clan. And I actually have this as my upset of the week, just based on the records and whatnot. Castro has Mahomes and Kelsey versus Jacksonville. Sure, that's a great matchup. They could easily connect for multiple touchdowns. You look at the rest of the matchups, though, and there's nothing other than Patterson versus Carolina that I'm really all too excited about. Cleveland's run defense had a rough stretch of being very bad against the run. I think they've kind of figured that out a little bit. None of his receivers even really warrant speaking about. Woods or London, they're going to have to score more than 5 before we give them anything. I look at your side. Hurts against Washington, absolute smash spot. I think he can match or exceed what Mahomes does against Jacksonville. Swift against the Bears. If there was ever a time for Swift to get right, it's this week. The matchup is perfect, divisional game, and I think there's a good chance we see it. I don't know what your plan is at running back 2. You might want to stop fielding offers on Melvin Gordon because he might be the only card you have to play. But, Smitty along with Hurts, I don't know. I feel like after being so quiet last week, maybe he's due, so to speak, to get back involved this week. Waddle, always a good matchup. And, guys like Schultz and IU kind of fly under the radar. And honestly, the way Green Bay has been playing Dallas's defense, it's not very often we highlighted defense, but I feel fairly confident in your odds this week.
Thank you. Moving on, let me timestamp this. Moving on to our next segment, we have the Cage Watch. Cage Watch this week, week 10. I have New Jersey Sopranos in my Cage Watch. There's just, outside of Henry, long term, I don't see anything trending upwards about Guy's team. I mean, who knows if Keenan will ever play? Herbert's going to be dealing with this injury for the rest of the season. Fournette apparently was vocal about he not liking his role in the offense last week. If you look at the snap share numbers, it's just every week Rachaad White is just creeping up on him. So I think it's only a matter of time where we see that Rachaad White breakout game and Leonard Fournette's just kind of that old dog left behind. But yeah, I mean, Wanda Robinson going forward, I don't think he's like gonna be. He was supposed to be like, I guess that guy who in the Seattle game he was kind of supposed to show out, and he only had 3 targets. I was Slayton hurt originally or no? Was he just
the season?
But yeah, I mean Godwin. I mean, I don't know if that Bucks passing attack is ever going to be what it was these past 2 seasons. You kind of just look, the only bright spot of the team is Henry, who's been playing great. But I just don't see anywhere else on this team outside of like Stevenson and Henry where it's a bright spot for him. That's gonna shoot him off the standings.
I agree, unfortunately. But not to beat a dead horse here, we're going to have to highlight Peter's Tigers. Just to give some perspective, I mean, like you said, if anyone was given the number 1 pick, myself included, we probably all would have, I guess, had to take in Jonathan Taylor based on how good he was last year. His durability was never a concern. It's just a really unfortunate. Everything has gone. It's worst case scenario. It's sounding the alarms. It's a terrible, terrible thing. The only real gripes that I have with Sonny's draft were DJ Moore in the 2nd round and Damian Harris over Stevenson. You know, I don't think those 2 mistakes should have necessarily buried him here, but having that first overall pick is, in a way, you know, high risk, high reward. You have a chance to land an absolute superstar like we've seen in the past with, you know, Christian McCaffrey and guys like Todd Gurley and whatnot. But, you know, when that doesn't hit, it's hard to bounce back from, because, you know, your picks in the rounds to follow are, I mean, it is nice that they're back to back, but you have to wait a long time between, you know, your first pick and your second pick. And when your second pick is DJ Moore, it's a rough start. He did good getting Lamar where he did. You know, Debo's been okay, but it's you know, it's the luck element of this game, and it hasn't really worked out for him. So I'm sorry for you, son. It's not all your fault, but it's the world we're living in right now.
Yeah. It's literally like Jonathan Taylor number 1 has been like the absolute worst. Like, outside of just him going off for like 30 points week 1, like
it's tough.
Yeah, so that's all we got for this week. So I guess good luck to everyone this week. I think there's a pretty good slate of games coming up this week. We only had 2 4:00 games last weekend, which is fucking pretty mid. Because that Bucks Rams game is literally hard to watch outside the last like 2 minutes of it. Yep. But good luck to everyone this week. If you watched until now, thank you. Ed, anything you'd like to say before we log off?
Yeah, good luck to everyone. You know, keep fighting. Prove us wrong if you don't agree with where you were placed. Everyone's still alive at this point in time, and hopefully for your sake, you can keep it that way. But other than that, good luck. We'll see you back here in a couple weeks.
All right.